Yo, what's going on, yo? And welcome back to the Reading the Entire Bible series. Today we're gonna be doing First Kings again. So yeah, let's get it. Also, I think my mic is super loud. My mic is like really loud. I can already tell because I'm looking at OBS. And usually the green bar is not that high because I have my gain up, so I gotta turn it down. And then yeah. So now I'm super quiet. But now I'm really loud. But now I'm gonna put it like down a little bit so I'm not too loud or too quiet. So alright, let's do it. The building of the temple. Now it came about in the 480th year after the Israelites came out of the land of Egypt, in the fourth year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month of Ziv, April, May, which is the second month, that he began to build the Lord's house. The length of the house which King Solomon built for the Lord was 60 cubits, 90 feet. Its width, its width 20, 30 feet, and its height 30 cubits, 45 feet. The porch in front of the main room of the house was 20 cubits long, corresponding to the width of the house, and its depth in front of the house was 10 cubits. He also made framed artistic window openings for the house. Against the wall of the house, he built extensions around the walls of the house, around both of the main room, around both the main room, holy place, and the holy of holies. And he made side chambers all around. The lowest story was 5 cubits wide. The middle was 6 cubits wide, and the third was 7 cubits wide. For he made offsets, niches in the walls and all around on the outside of the house, so that the supporting beams would not be inserted into the walls of the house. While it was being built, the house was built of stone, prepared and finished, pre-cut at the quarry, and no hammer, axe, or iron tool of any kind was heard in the house while it was under construction. The entrance to the lowest chamber was on the right or south side of the house, and they would go up winding stairs to the middle level, and from the middle to the third. So Solomon built the house and finished it, and it roofed the house with beams and boards of cedar. Then he built extensions of rooms against the entire house, each story 5 cubits high, and they were attached to the house with timbers of cedar. Now the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, "Concerning this house which you are building, if you walk in my statutes and execute my precepts, and keep all my commandments by walking in them, then I will carry out my word, my promises, with you, which I made to David your father. I will dwell among the descendants of Israel, and will not abandon my people Israel." So Solomon built the house and finished it. He built the walls of the interior of the house with that is the holy place and the holy of holies, with boards of cedar from the floor of the house to the rafters of the ceiling. He overlaid the interior with wood, and he overlaid the floor of the house with boards of cypress. He built 20 cubits on the rear of the house, with boards of cedar from that flooring to the ceiling. He built its interior as the inner sanctuary, the holy of holies. The rest of the house, that is, the temple in front of the holy of holies, was 40 cubits long. The cedar on the house within had wood carvings in the shape of gourds and open flowers. Everything was cedar, no stone was visible. Then he prepared the Holy of Holies within the house in order to put the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord there. The Holy of Holies was 20 cubits in length, 20 cubits in width, and 20 cubits in height, a cube. And he overlaid it with pure gold. He also overlaid the cedar altar with gold. Solomon overlaid the interior of the house with pure gold, and he drew chains of gold across the front of the Holy of Holies, inner sanctuary, and he overlaid it with gold. Then he overlaid the entire house with gold. until the whole house was finished. He also overlaid the entire incense altar, which was by the Holy of Holies, with gold. Within the Holy of Holies, he made two cherubim, sculptured figures of olive wood, each 10 cubits high. On, or not on, one wing of the cherub was 5 cubits long, and the other wing was also 5 cubits long. It was 10 cubits from the tip of one wing to the tip of the other. The wingspan of the other cherubim was also 10 cubits. The measurements and cut shape of the two cherubim were the same. The height of the one cherubim was 10 cubits, as was the other. He put the cherubim above the ark inside the innermost room of the house, and their wings were spread out so that the wing of one touched one wall, and the wing of the other cherubim was touching the other wall, and their inner wings were touching each other in the middle of the house. Solomon also overlaid the cherubim with gold. He carved all the walls of the house all around, with carved engravings of cherubim, palm-shaped decorations, and open flowers, both the inner and the outer sanctuaries. He overlaid the floor of the house with gold, both the inner and outer sanctuaries. For the entrance of the Holy of Holies, he made two folding doors of olive wood, the lintel here above the door, and five sided doorposts frames. So he made two doors of olive wood, and he carved on them cravings of cherubim, palm-shaped decorations, and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold. And he hammered out overlays of gold on the cherubim and decorations. Also, he made for the entrance of the outer sanctuary, the holy place, 4 sided doorposts, frames of olive wood, and two doors of cypress wood. The two leaves of the one door turned on pivots and were folded, and the two leaves of the other door also turned pivots. He carved cherubim, palm-shaped decorations, and opened flowers on the doors, and overlaid them with gold evenly applied on the carved work. He built the inner courtyard with 3 rows of cut stone and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year of King Solomon's reign, the foundation of the Lord's house was laid in the 2nd month of April or May. In the 11th year of King Solomon's reign, in the month of Bul, so that's October, okay. That is the 8th month, the house was finished throughout all its parts and in accordance with all its specifications. So he built it in 7 years. Lit. Alright. Solomon's palace. Now Solomon built his own palace, in 13 years, and he finished all of his house in that time. He also built the house of the forest of Lebanon. Its length was 100 cubits, 150 feet. Its width 50 cubits, 75 feet, and its height 30 cubits, 45 feet. Upon 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams upon the pillars. And it was covered with cedar as a roof on the supporting beams that were up upon the 45 pillars, 15 in each row. There were artistic window frames in three. There were artistic window frames in 3 rows, and window was opposite window in 3 tiers. All the doorways and doorposts and windows had squared artistic frames, and window was opposite window in 3 tiers. He also made the hall of pillars. Its length was 50 cubits, 75 feet, and its width 30 cubits, 45 feet. There was a porch in front, and pillars and a threshold in front of him. He made the hall for the throne where he was to judge, the hall of judgment. It was paneled with cedar from one floor to another. His house where he was to live, the other courtyard behind the hall, was similar workmanship. Solomon also made a house like this hall for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had married. All these were of expensive stones, of stone cutting according to measure, sawed with saws inside and out, even from the foundation to the coping. and from the outside to the great courtyard. The foundation was of expensive stones, large stones, stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits. And above the foundation were expensive stones, stones cut according to the measure in cedar. So the great courtyard all around had 3 rows of cut stone, and a row of cedar beams like the inner courtyard of the house of the Lord, and the porch of the house. Hiram's work in the temple. Now King Solomon sent word and brought Hiram, a skilled craftsman, from Tyre. He was the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a craftsman in bronze. Hiram was filled with wisdom, understanding, and skill for doing any kind of work in bronze. So he came to King Solomon and did all his bronze work. Oh my gosh. He cast the 2 pillars of bronze. The one pillar was 18 cubits high, and a measuring line of 12 cubits measured the circumference of both. He also made 2 capitals, crowns, of cast bronze to put on the tops of the pillars. The height of one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. There were nets of network, lattice work, and twisted threads, reeds of chain work for the capitals which were on the tops of the pillars, 7 for one capital and 7 for the other. So Hiram made the pillars in this manner, and 2 rows around on the one network to cover the capitals which were on the top of the pomegranates, and he did the same for the other capital. The capitals which were upon the top of the pillars and the porch were of lily work design, 4 cubits. The capitals were on the 2 pillars and also above and close to the rounded projection which was beside the network. There were 200 pomegranates in rows around both capitals. Hiram set up the pillars at the porch of the temple. He set up the right pillar and named it Jachin. Maybe he established, or may he establish, not maybe he established, may he establish. And he set up the pillar and the left pillar and named it Boaz in its strength. On the tops of the pillars was lily work design. So the work of the pillars was finished. Now he made the sea basin of cast metal, 10 cubits from brim to brim, circular in form, 5 cubits high and 30 cubits in circumference. Under its brim were gourds. I don't know why I was reading that as grouds. There's not even an R there. Brim were gourds, encircling it 10 to a cubit, completely surrounding the sea. The gourds, oh my gosh, were in 2 rows, cast in one piece with it. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 facing north, 3 facing west, 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. The sea was set on top of them, and all their rear parts pointed inward. It was a hand-width thick, and its brim was like the brim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It held 2,000 baths. Then Hiram made 10 bronze standards for smaller basins. The length of each stand was 4 cubits, its width was 4 cubits, and its height was 3 cubits. This was the design of the stands. They had borders between the frames. On the borders between the frames were lions, oxen, and cherubim. And on the frames there was a pedestal above. Pedestal, 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 pedestal. No, there's no stool right there. It's still. Beneath the lions, oxen, and the lions and oxen were borders of hanging work. Now each stand had 4 bronze wheels with bronze axles, and its 4 feet had supports for a basin. Beneath the basin were cast supports with borders at each side. Its opening inside the crown at the top measured a cubit, and its opening was round like the design of a pedestal, 1.5 cubits. Also on its opening were carvings, and their
borders were square, not round. Under the borders were four wheels, and the axles of the wheels were on the stand, and the height of a wheel was a cubit and a half. The, the wheels were made like a chariot wheel. Their axles, their rims, their spokes, and their hubs were all cast. Now there were four supports at the four corners of each stand. The supports were part of the stand itself. On the top of the stand there was a circular piece half a cubit high. In the top of the stand, its supports and the borders were part of it. And on the surface of its supports and its borders, Haram engraved cherubim, lions, and palm-shaped decorations, according to the available space for each, with borders all around. He made the 10 stands like this. They had they all had one casting, one measure, and one form. Then he made 10 basins of bronze. Each basin held 40 baths and was 4 cubits, and there was one basin on each of the 10 stands. Then he placed the bases, 5 on the right or south side of the house, and 5 on the left or north side. And he set the sea of cast metal on the right side of the house toward the southeast. Now, Haram made the basins and the shovels and the bowls. So Haram finished all the work which he did for King Solomon on the house of the Lord. Finally, the two pillars and the two bowls of the capitals which were on the top of the two pillars, and the two networks to cover the two bowls of the capitals which were on top of the pillars, and the 400 pomegranates for the two networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network, to cover the 2 bowls of the capitals that were on top of the basins of the pillars, the 10 stands and the 10 basins on the stands, 1 basin, and the 12 oxen under the sea, the pails, the shovels, and the bowls. All these utensils which Haram made for King Solomon in the house of the Lord were of polished bronze. In the plain of the Jordan River, the king cast them in the clay ground between Succoth and Zarethan. Solomon left all the utensils unweighed because there were so many. The weight of the bronze could not be determined. That's lit. Solomon made all the other furniture which was in the house of the Lord, the incense altar of gold, the table of gold on which was the bread of the presence, the holy that does not say the lampstands of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, in front of the holy of holies, in the inner sanctuary, with the flowers, the lamps, and the tongues of gold, the cups, snuffers, bowls, spoons, fire pans of pure gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the holy of holies, and for the doors of the house, the main room, the holy place. So all the work that King Solomon did on the house of the Lord was completed. Solomon brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, the silver, the gold, and the utensils, and he put them in the treasuries of the Lord's house. Look at all this. Look at all these references that I'm not reading. The ark brought into the temple. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel, and all the heads of the tribes, the leaders of the fathers' households of the sons of Israel, to King Solomon in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord from the city of David, which is Zion. All the men of Israel assembled before King Solomon at the feast in the month of Ethanim, September, October. That is the seventh month. All the elders of Israel came, and the priests carried the ark. They brought up the ark of the Lord and the tent of meeting and the holy utensils that were in the tent. The priests and the Levites brought them up. King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel who had assembled before him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen, so many that they could not be counted or numbered. Then the priests brought the ark of the covenant of the Lord to its place in into the inner sanctuary of the house, into the Holy of Holies, under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread their two wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered the ark and its carrying poles from above. The poles were so long that the ends of the poles were visible from the holy place, that was from the Holy of Holies, but they were not visible from the outside. They are there to this day. The date of the. What did I say? Literally, what did I say last time I read that? To this day. They should have put that way earlier, though. They should have put. They should have clarified that way earlier. I don't know why they didn't. The date of this writing. Yeah. There was nothing in the ark except the two tables of stone which Moses put there at Horeb, Sinai, where the Lord made a covenant with the Israelites when they came out from the land of Egypt. Now it happened that when the priests could not stand in their positions to minister because of the cloud, for the glory and brilliance of the Lord had filled the Lord's house, temple. Solomon addresses the people. Then Solomon said, "The Lord has said that he would dwell in the thick darkness of the cloud. I have certainly built you a lofty house, a place for you to dwell in forever." Then the king turned around and blessed all the assembly of Israel, which while all the assembly of Israel was standing. He said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Israel, who spoke with his mouth to my father David and has fulfilled it with his hand, saying, Since the day that I brought my people Israel out of Egypt, I did not choose a particular city out of all the tribes of Israel in which to build a house, so that my name presence would be in it. But I chose David to be over my people Israel. Now it was determined in the heart of my father David to build a house, temple for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. But the Lord said to my father David, Because it was in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well, in that it was in your heart. Nevertheless, you shall not build a house, but your son, who shall be born to you. It is he who shall build it for my name in my presence. Now the Lord has fulfilled his word which he spoke. I have risen in the place of my father David and have taken my seat on the throne of Israel, just as the Lord promised, and have built the house for the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. There I have made a place in the Holy of Holies for the ark, in which is the covenant of the Lord, which he made with our fathers when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. The prayer of dedication. Then Solomon stood in the courtyard before the altar of the Lord in the presence of all the assembly of Israel, and spread out his hands towards heaven. He said, O Lord, the God of Israel, there is no God like you in heaven above, or on earth below, who keeps the covenant and shows loving kindness to your servants who walk before you with all their heart. You who have kept what you promised to your servant, my father David. You have spoke with your mouth and have fulfilled your word with your hand, and as it is this day. Now, therefore, O Lord, the God of Israel, keep for your servant, my father David, that which you promised him when you said, You shall not be without a man descendant to sit on the throne of Israel. If only your sons take heed to their way of life, to walk before me according to my laws as you have done. Now, O God of Israel, please let your word which you have spoken to your servant David, my father, be confirmed. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, heaven and the highest heaven cannot contain you. How much less this house which I have built? Yet graciously consider the prayer of your servant and his supplication, O Lord my God, to listen to the loud cry and to the prayer which your servant prays before you today, that your eyes may be open toward this house, night and day, toward the place of which you have said, My presence, my name, shall be there, that you may listen to the prayer which your servant shall pray towards this place. Listen to the prayer of your servant and of your people Israel, which they pray towards this place. Here in heaven, your dwelling place. Hear and forgive.
If a man sins against his neighbor and is made to take an oath of innocence, and he comes to take the oath before your altar in this house, then hear from heaven and act and judge your servants, condemning the wicked by bringing his guilt on his own head, and justifying the righteous by rewarding him in accordance with his righteousness. When your people Israel are defeated before an enemy because they have sinned against you, and then they turn to you again and praise your name and pray and ask for your favor and compassion in this house, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your people Israel and bring them back to the land which you gave their fathers. When the heavens are shut up and there is no rain because they have sinned against you, and they pray towards this place and praise your name and turn from their sin when you afflict them, then hear in heaven and forgive the sin of your servants and of your people Israel. Indeed, teach them the good way in which they should walk, and send rain on your land which you have given to your people as an inheritance. If there is famine in the land, or if there is pestilence, plague, blights, mildew, migratory locusts, or grasshoppers, if their enemy besieges them in the land of their cities, whatever affliction or plague, whatever sickness there is, whatever prayer or pleading is made by an individual or by your people Israel, each knowing the affliction of his own heart and spreading his hands out towards this house, then hear in heaven your dwelling place, and forgive an act and give to each according to his ways, whose heart, mind, you know. For you and you alone know the hearts of all the children of men, so that they may fear you with reverence and awe all the days that they live in the land which you have given them, or given to our fathers. Moreover, concerning a foreigner who is not of your people, Israel, but comes from a far distant country, for the sake of your name, to plead with you, for they will hear of your great name, your great name, your strong hand of power, and outstretched arm. When he comes and prays towards this house, temple, here in heaven, your dwelling place, and do according to all for which the foreigner calls upon you, so that all peoples of the earth may know your name and fear you with reverence and awe, as do your people Israel, and that they may know without any doubt that this house which I have built is called by your name. When your people go out to battle against their enemy, by whatever way you send them, and they pray to the Lord toward the city which you have chosen, and the house that I have built for your name and presence, then hear in heaven their prayer and their pleading, and maintain their right and defend their cause when they sin against you. For there is no man who does not sin, and you are angry with them, and hand them over to their enemy, so that they are carried away captive to their enemy's land, or wither, like the wither from Minecraft, wither, except it's not spelled like that. Whether far away or near, if they take it to heart in the land where they have been taken captive, and they repent and pray to you in the land of their captors, saying, we have sinned and done wrong, and we have acted wickedly. If they return to you with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their enemies who had taken them captive, and they pray to you toward the land of Israel, which you gave to their fathers, the city of Jerusalem which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name and presence, then hear their prayer and their supplication in heaven, your dwelling place, and maintain their right and defend their cause, and forgive your people who have sinned against you and all the transgressions which they have committed against you, and make them objects of compassion before their captors, that they will be merciful to them. For they are your people and your heritage, whom you brought out of Egypt, out of Egypt, from the midst of the iron furnace of slavery and oppression, that your eyes may be open to to the supplication. I almost said to the supplication of your people Israel, to listen to them and be attentive to them whenever they call you. For you singled them out from all the peoples of the earth as your heritage, just as you declared through Moses, your servant, when you brought our fathers out of Egypt, O Lord God. Solomon's benediction. When Solomon finished offering this entire prayer and supplication to the Lord, he arose from before the Lord's altar, where he had knelt down with his hands stretched towards heaven. And he stood and blessed all the assembly of Israel with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be the Lord who has given rest to his people Israel in accordance with everything that he promised. Not one word has failed of all his good promise, which he spoke through Moses his servant. May the Lord our God be with us, as he was with our fathers. May he not leave us nor abandon us to our enemies, that he may guide our hearts to himself, to walk in all his ways, following him, and to keep his commandments, his statutes, and his precepts which he commanded our fathers. Let these words of mine with which I have made supplication before the Lord be near to the Lord our God day and night, so that he will maintain the cause and right of his servant and of his people Israel, as each day requires, so that the peoples of the earth may know that the Lord is God. There is no one else. Therefore, your hearts are to be wholly devoted to the Lord our God, to walk in his statutes and to keep his commandments, as you are doing today. Dedicatory sacrifices. Then the king and all the people of Israel with him repeatedly offered sacrifice before the Lord. Solomon offered as peace offerings to the Lord 22,000 oxen and 120,000 sheep. So the king and all the Israelites dedicated the house temple of the Lord. On that same day, the king consecrated the middle of the courtyard that was in front of the house of the Lord. For he offered the burnt offerings, the grain offerings, and the fat of the peace offerings, because the bronze altar that was before the Lord was too small to hold all the burnt offerings, the grain offerings, and the fat of the peace offerings. So, at that time, Solomon held the feast, and all Israel with him, a great assembly, from the entrance of Hamath on the northern border of Israel to the brook of Egypt at Israel's southern border, before the Lord our God, for 7 days and 7 more days beyond the prescribed period for the Feast of Booths, 14 days in all. On the 15th day, he sent the people away, and they blessed the king. Then they went to their tents joyful and in good spirits, because of all the goodness which the Lord had shown to David his servant and Israel his people. God's promise and warning. This is gonna be like the 10,000th time he's had to do. I watch. He's gonna explain. He's gonna explain what's gonna go good, and then he's gonna explain what's gonna go bad, and then it's gonna go bad. It's gonna be, well, I'm not gonna say that because I don't know fully. I just know Israel messes up a lot. Now it happened when Solomon had finished building the house of the Lord and the king's palace, and all else with which he was pleased to do, that the Lord appeared to Solomon a second time, just as he had appeared to him at Gibeon. The Lord told him, Have I heard your prayer and supplication which you have made before me? I have consecrated this house which you have built, by putting my name and presence there forever. My eyes and my heart shall be there perpetually. As for you, if you live your life before me, as David your father walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, acting in accordance with everything that I have commanded you, and will keep my statutes and my precepts, then I will establish the throne of your kingdom over Israel forever, just as I promised your father David, saying, You shall not be without a man descendant on the throne of Israel. But if you or your sons turn away from following me and do not keep my commandments and my statutes which I have set before you, yikes, but go and serve other gods and worship them, yikes, then I will cut off Israel from the land which I have given them, and I will cast out of my sight the house which I have consecrated for my name and presence. Then Israel will become a proverb, a saying, and a byword, object of ridicule among the people, among all the peoples. This house will become a heap of ruins. Everyone who passes by will be appalled and sneer and say, "Why has the Lord done such a thing to this land and to this house?" And they who know will say, "Because they abandoned the Lord their God, who brought their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and they have chosen other gods and have worshipped and served them. That is the reason the Lord has brought on them all this adversity." Cities given to Haram. Now, at the end of 20 years in which Solomon had built the two houses, the temple of the Lord and the palace of the king, Haram. What the heck was that? Okay, I heard a duck outside, but it was loud. It sounded kind of distorted. I don't know what that was. It sounded like a horn, a clown horn actually. It was weird. I don't know. I don't think the mic picked it up though, cause my gain is I turned it down. Hopefully I did. But usually when I record, it's really quiet. So I notice. Then again, even when I'm not recording, I notice noises. But anyway, Hiram, king of Tyre, had supplied Solomon with as much cedar and cypress timber from Lebanon and gold as he desired. At that time, King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee, northern Israel. So Hiram came from Tyre to see the cities uh, which Solomon had given him, and they did not please him. He said, "What are these cities good for, which you have given me, my brother?" So they have been called to the land of Kabul like nothing, unproductive, to this day. And Haram sent to the king 120 talents of gold. Now this is the account of the forced labor or not with, which Solomon conscripted to build the house of the Lord, his house, the Millo fortification, the wall of Jerusalem, and the fortress cities of Hazor, Megiddo, and Gezer. For Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had gone up and taken Gezer, burned it with fire, and killed the Canaanites who lived in the city. And he had given it as a dowry to his daughter, Solomon's wife. So Solomon rebuilt and fortified Gezer and lower Beth Horon, Baalath, and Tamar in the wilderness in the land of Judah, and all the storage cities for surplus provisions, which Solomon had, and the cities for his chariots and cities for his horsemen, and whatever it pleased Solomon to build in Jerusalem, in Lebanon, and in all the land under his rule. As for all the people who were left of the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, who were not of the descendants of Israel, their children who were left after them in the land whom the Israelites were unable to completely destroy. From them Solomon levied conscripted forced laborers, even to this day the date of this writing. But Solomon did not make slaves of the sons of Israel, for they were men of war, soldiers, his servants, his officers, his captains, his chariot commanders, and his horsemen. These were the chief officers who were over Solomon's work, 550, who ruled over the people doing the work. As soon as Pharaoh's daughter came up from the city of David to her house, which Solomon had built for her, then he built the Millo fortification. 3 times a year during the major annual festivals, Solomon offered burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar he had built to the Lord, and he burned incense with them before the Lord. So he finished the house of the Lord. King Solomon built a fleet of ships in Ezion Geber, which is near Elos on the shore of the Red Sea, Sea of Reeds, in the land of Edom. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent his servants with the fleet, sailors who knew of the sea, along with servants of Solomon. They came to Ophir and took 420 talents of gold from there and brought it to King Solomon. The Queen of Sheba. Now then, or now when, now when the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to test him with riddles. So she came to Jerusalem with a very large caravan and entourage, with camels carrying spices, a great quantity of gold and precious stones. When she came to Solomon, she spoke to him about everything that was on her mind to discover the extent of his wisdom. Solomon answered all her questions. There was nothing hidden from the king which he did not explain to her. When the Queen of Sheba had seen all the wisdom of Solomon, and the palace which he had built, the food on his table, the seating of his servants, court officials, the attendance of his waiters and their attire, his cupbearers, his stairway by which he went up to the house, temple of the Lord, she was breathless and awed by the wonder of it all. Then she told the king, "The report which I heard in my own land about your words and wisdom is true. I did not believe the report until I came and saw it with my own eyes. Behold, the half of it was not told to me. You exceed in wisdom and prosperity. The report which I heard, how blessed, fortunate, happy are your men. How blessed are these servants, how blessed are these your servants who stand continually before you, hearing your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God, who delighted in you to set you on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever. He made you king to execute justice and righteousness." She gave the king 120 talents of gold and a very great quantity of spices and precious stones. Never again did such an abundance of spices come in Israel as that with which whatever the Queen of Sheba gave King Solomon. Also, the ships of Hiram, which brought gold from Ophir, brought in from Ophir a great quantity of almug wood, sandalwood, and precious stones. From the almug wood, sandalwood, the king made pillars for the house of Israel, for the house of the Lord, and for the king's palace, and also lyres and harps for the singers. Such almug wood did not come into Israel again, nor has it been seen to this day. King Solomon in turn gave it to the Queen of Sheba, everything that she wanted, whatever she asked, besides what he gave to her from his royal bounty. So she returned to her own country, she and her servants. Wealth, splendor, and wisdom. Now the weight of the gold that came to Solomon in one particular year was 666 talents of gold. Oh my gosh, guys. The mark of the beast is in the Old Testament. Oh my gosh. 666 talents of gold. Could just be a coincidence, because I mean, let's be for real. This says 666. The one in Revelation says 666 in numbers. So that's the difference. Okay. Yeah. Obviously, that's not the explanation, but I'm just saying it could just be a coincidence. Like, it's not that serious. Besides the taxes from the traders and from the wares of the merchants and the tribute money from all the kings, the Arabs, Bedouins, and the governors of the country, King Solomon made 200 large shields of beaten hammered gold. 600 shekels of gold went into each shield. He made 300 smaller shields of beaten gold. 3 minas of gold went into each shield. The king put them in the the house of the forest of Lebanon, the king's armory. Also, the king made a great throne of ivory and overlaid it with the finest gold. The throne had 6 steps, and a round top was attached to the throne from the back. On either side of the seat were armrests, and 2 lions stood beside the armrests. 12 lions stood there, one on each end of the 6 steps. There was nothing like it made for any other kingdom. All King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was not considered valuable in the days of Solomon. For the king had at sea the large Congo, ships of Tarshish, with the ships of Haram. Once every 3 years, the ships of Tarshish came bringing gold, silver, ivory, monkeys, and peacocks. So King Solomon exceeded all the kings of the earth in wealth and in wisdom. All the earth was seeking the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his mind. Every man brought a gift of tribute, articles of silver and gold, garments, weapons, spices, horses, and mules, so much year by year. Now Solomon collected chariots and horsemen. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, which he stationed in the chariot cities and with the king in Jerusalem. I feel like he didn't need them. Like he could just get other people to fight for him, really, because they know how wise he is, or you know what, they know how wise he is, so they're scared of attacking him. That makes more sense. The king made silver as common in Jerusalem, and stones and cedars as plentiful as the sycamore trees that are in the lowland. Solomon's horses were imported from Egypt and from Kui, and the king's merchants acquired them from Kuri for a price. A chariot could be imported from Egypt for 600 shekels of silver, and a horse for 150. And in the same way, they exported them by the king's merchants to all the kings of the Hittites and to the kings of Aram, Syria. Solomon turns from, what did I say? Solomon turns from God. Face palm. Now, King Solomon defiantly loved many foreign women, along with the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from the very nations of whom the Lord said to the Israelites, "You shall not associate with them, nor shall they associate with you. For the rest will be that they will turn away your hearts to follow their gods." Yet Solomon clung to these in love. He had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned his heart away from God. For when Solomon was old, his wives turned his heart away after other gods, and his heart was not completely devoted to the Lord his God, as was the heart of his father David. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the fertility goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the detestable idol of the Ammonites. Solomon did evil things in the sight of the Lord and did not follow the Lord fully, as his father David had done. Then Solomon built a high place for worshiping Chemosh, the detestable idol of Moab, on the hill which is east of Jerusalem, and for Molech, the detestable idol of the sons of Ammon. And he did the same for all his foreign wives who burned incense and sacrificed to their gods. Real quick, I would like last time I put a pagan idol as a profile, or not profile picture, a thumbnail for one of my videos. That junk look creepy, so I'm not doing that this time. that ball, whatever, that cow, that junk look creepy. I'm not gonna say it was in my dreams and I had a nightmare. No, because I don't get spiritually attacked like that. And if I do, it's usually dreams that I couldn't describe to
someone who doesn't know what sex is. But anyway, yeah, I'm not putting that as a. I'm probably just gonna like look up something relevant here and put that as a thumbnail. But yeah, so the Lord became angry with Solomon because his heart was turned away from the Lord, the God of Israel, who had appeared to him twice and had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not follow other gods, but he did not remember, obey what the Lord had commanded him. Therefore, the Lord said to Solomon, because you have done this day and have not kept my covenant and my statutes which I have commanded you, I will certainly tear the kingdom away from you and give it to your servant. However, I will not do it in your lifetime for the sake of your father David, but I will tear it out of the hand of your son Rehoboam. However, I will not tear away all the kingdom. I will give one tribe, Judah, to your son for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen. Quid pro pro. God raises adversaries. Uh-oh. Then the Lord stirred up an adversary against Solomon, Hadad the Edomite. He was of royal descent in Edom, for it came about when David was in Edom, and Joab, the commander of the army, had gone up to bury those killed in battle and had struck down every male in Edom. For Joab and all the army of Israel stayed there 6 months, until he had killed every male in Edom. That Hadad escaped to Egypt, he and some Edomites from his father's servants with him. While Hadad was still a little boy, they sent out from Midian, south of Edom, and came to Paran, and took men with them from Paran, and came to Egypt to Pharaoh, king of Egypt, who gave young Hadad a house, and ordered food and provisions for him, and he gave him land. Hadad found a great favor with Pharaoh, so that he gave Hadad in marriage the sister of his own wife, the sister of Taphinez, the queen. The sister of Taphinez gave birth to Genubath, Hadad's son, whom Taphinez weaned. I think I said weaned last time. In Pharaoh's house, and Genubath was in Genubath. What? Genubith was in Pharaoh's household among the sons of Pharaoh. But when Hadad heard in Egypt that David had died and that Joab, the commander of the army, was dead, Hadad said to Pharaoh, "Let me leave, so that I may go to my own country." And Pharaoh said to him, "But what have you lacked with me that you now ask to go to your own country?" He replied, "Nothing. Nevertheless, you must let me go." God also stirred up another adversary for Solomon, Rezon, the son of Eliada, who had fled from his master, Hadadezer, king of Zobah. Rezon gathered men to himself and became leader of a marauding band after David killed those in Zobah. They went to Damascus and stayed there, and they reigned in Damascus. So Rezon was an adversary to Israel all the days of Solomon, along with the evil that Hadad inflicted. Rezon hated Israel and reigned over Aram, Syria. Jeroboam, Solomon's servant, the son of Nebat, an Ephrathite of Zeradah, whose mother's name was Zerah, a widow, also rebelled against the king. Now, this is the reason why he rebelled against the king. Solomon built a Millo fortification, and he repaired and closed the breach of the city of his father David. The man Jeroboam was a brave warrior, and when Solomon saw that the young man was industrious, he put him in charge of all the forced labor of the house of Joseph. It came about at that time when Jeroboam left Jerusalem that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite met him on the road. Now Ahijah had covered himself with a new cloak, and the two of them were alone in the field. Then Ahijah took hold of the new cloak which he was wearing and tore
tore it into 12 pieces. He said to Jeroboam, "Take 10 pieces for yourself. For thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, Behold, I am going to tear the kingdom from the hand of Solomon and give you 10 tribes. But he and his descendants shall leave one tribe for one tribe. Benjamin was annexed to Judah for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, because they have abandoned me and have worshipped Ashtaroth, the god, the goddess of the Sidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the sons of Ammon. And they have not walked in my ways and followed my commandments, doing what is right in my sight and keeping my statutes and my ordinances as did his father David. However, I will not take the entire kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him ruler all the days of his life for the sake of my servant David, whom I chose because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdoms out of his son's hand and give it to you, 10 tribes. Yet to his son I will give one tribe, so that my servant David may have a lamp always before me in Jerusalem, the city where I have chosen to put my name and presence. I will take you, Jeroboam, and you shall reign over whatever your soul desires, and you shall be king over Israel, the 10 northern tribes. Then it shall be that if you listen to all that I command you, and walk in my ways, and do what is right in my sight, keeping and observing my statutes and my commandments, as my servant David did, then I will be with you and build an enduring house, as I built for David, and I will give Israel to you. And in this way I will afflict the descendants of David for this sin, but not forever. So Solomon attempted to kill Jeroboam. Why does everyone do this except for David? David's the only one that didn't do something like that. Well, he still did evil, but I'm just saying, Saul did this. They get so jealous when they know a blessing. Well, we know what that really is. Solomon attempted to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam set on an escape to Egypt, to Shishak, king of Egypt, and stayed in Egypt until Solomon died. The death of Solomon. The rest of the acts of Solomon and all that he did and his wisdom are not written in the book of the are they not written in the book of the acts of Solomon? The time Solomon reigned in Jerusalem over all Israel was 40 years, and Solomon slept in death with his fathers and was buried in the city of his father David. Rehoboam, his son, reigned in his place. That's kind of cool how they have in his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the Acts of Solomon? What? Is that talking about Proverbs? I kind of want to see what that's talking about, but I guess we're not gonna get a clear answer. But yeah, so clearly they had books at the time, or at least books that were local. Let's just say that, or at least common at that time. Because nowadays it'd be like, what is this? Is this like a Gnostic gospel? What is this? We'd be confused. King Rehoboam acts foolishly. Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel had come to Shechem to make him king. Now when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, heard about it, he was living in Egypt, for he was still in Egypt, wherever he had fled from King Solomon. So they sent word and called for him, and Jeroboam and all the assembly of Israel came and spoke to Rehoboam, saying, Your father made our yoke burden heavy, so now lighten the hard labor and the heavy yoke your father imposed on us, and we will serve you. Rehoboam replied to them, Leave for 3 days, then come back to me for my decision. So the people left. King Rehoboam consulted with the others who had served and advised his father Solomon while he was still alive, and said, How did you advise me to answer this people? They spoke to him, saying, If you will be a servant to this people today, and will serve them and grant their requests, and speak good words to them, Then they will be your servants forever. But he ignored the great advice which the elders gave to him and consulted the young men who grew up with him and served him. He said to them, "What do you advise that we answer this people who have said to me, 'Lighten the yoke burden which your father put on us?'" The young man who had grown up with him answered, "This is what you should say to this people who told you. Your father made our yoke heavy, but as for you, make our yoke lighter. Say this to them: My little finger is thicker than my father's loins, and my reign will be even more severe. And now, whereas my father loaded you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father disciplined you with whips, but I will discipline you with scorpions." Jeroboam listened to his little brother's advice. No. Jeroboam and all the people came back to Rehoboam on the third day, just as the king had instructed, saying, "Return to me on that day." The king answered the people harshly and ignored the advice which the elders had given him, and spoke to them in accordance with the advice of the young man, saying, "My father made your yoke heavy, but as for me, I will add to your yoke. My father disciplined you with whips, but I will discipline you with scorpions." So the king did not listen to the people, for the situation was from the Lord, so that he might fulfill his word which he spoke through Ahijah the Shilonite to Jeroboam the son of Nebat. The kingdom divided. Jeroboam rules Israel. So when all the 10 northern tribes of Israel saw that the king did not listen to them, the people replied to the king, saying, "What portion do we have in David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Look now after your own house, David." Then Israel went back to their tents. But as for the sons of Israel who lived in the cities of Judah, including Benjamin, Rehoboam reigned over them. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was in charge of the forced labor, to represent him, and all Israel stoned him to death. And King Rehoboam quickly mounted his chariot to escape to Jerusalem. So Israel, the 10 northern tribes, has rebelled against the house or line of David to this day, the date of this writing. It came about when all Israel heard that Jeroboam had returned that they sent word and called him to the assembly and made him king over all Israel. None followed the house of David except the tribe of Judah, including Benjamin. Now when Rehoboam arrived in Jerusalem, he assembled all the fighting men from the house of Judah with the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen warriors, to fight against the house of Israel to bring the kingdom back to Rehoboam the son of Solomon. But the word of God came to Shemaiah, the man of God, saying, "Tell Rehoboam the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and all the house fighting men of Judah and Benjamin and the rest of the people, thus says the Lord, you shall not go up and fight against your brothers, the sons of Israel. Let every man return to his house, for this thing has come about from me." So they listened to the word of the Lord and returned to go home in accordance with the word of the Lord. How did he already mess up? Jeroboam's idolatry. Then Jeroboam built Shechem as his royal city in the hill country of Ephraim and lived there. He went out from there and rebuilt Penuel as a stronghold. Jeroboam doubted God's promise to him and said in his heart, "Now the kingdom will return to the house of David. If these people go up to the house of the Lord in Jerusalem to offer sacrifices, then their heart will turn to their Lord, to Rehoboam, king of Judah, and they will kill me and return to Rehoboam, king of Judah." So the king took counsel and followed bad advice and made 2 cows of gold. And he said to the people, "It is too much for you to go all the way up to Jerusalem. Behold, your gods, O Israel, who brought you up from the land of Egypt." He set the one gold calf in Bethel, and the other he put in Dan. Now this thing became a sin for Israel, because the people went to worship before the one or the other of them as far as Dan,
And Jeroboam also made houses on the high places, and he made priests from all the people who were not of the descendants of Levi. Jeroboam held a feast on the 15th day of the 8th month, like the feast which is kept in Judah. And he went up to the altar. He did this in Bethel, sacrificing to the cows which he had made. And he stationed in Bethel the priests of the high places which he made. So he went up to the altar which he made in Bethel on the 15th day of the 8th month, in the month which he had devised in his own heart, in defiance of God's commandments. And he held a feast for the Israelites, and he went up to the altar to burn incense in defiance of God's law. Jeroboam warned, stricken. Now behold, there came a man of God from Judah to Bethel by the word of the Lord, while Jeroboam was standing by the altar which he had built to burn incense. The man cried out against the idolatrous altar by the word of the Lord. O altar, altar, thus says the Lord, behold, a son shall be born to the house of David, Josiah by name, and on you shall he sacrifice the bodies of the priests of the high places who burn incense on you, and may human bones shall be burned on you. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, this is the sign which the Lord has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be split apart, and the ashes that are on it shall be poured out. When the king heard the words which the man of God cried out against the altar in Bethel, Jeroboam put out his hand from the altar, saying, seize him! And his hand which he had put out against him withered, so that he was unable to pull it back to himself. The altar also was split apart, and the ashes were poured out from the altar in accordance with the sign which the man of God had given by the word of the Lord. The king answered and said to the man of God, please entreat the favor of the Lord your God, and pray for me that my hand may be restored to me. So the man of God entreated the Lord, and the king's hand was restored to him, and became as it was before. And the king said to the man of God, come home with me and refresh yourself, and I will give you a reward. But the man of God wasn't falling for that, and said to the king, even if you were to give me half of your house, I would not go with you, nor would I eat your bread or drink water in this place. For I was commanded by the word of the Lord, you shall not eat bread or drink water, nor shall you return by the way you came. So he went another way and did not return by the way that he came to Bethel. The disobedient prophet. Now there was an old prophet living in Bethel, and his sons came and told him everything that the man of God had done that day in Bethel. They also told their father the words which he had spoken to the king. Their father asked them which way did he go, for his sons had seen which way the man of God who came from Judah had gone. He said to his sons, saddle the donkey for me. So they saddled the donkey for him, and he rode away on it. And he went after the man of God, and he found him sitting under an oak tree. And he said to him, are you the man of God who came from Judah? And he said, I am. Then he said to him, come home with me and eat bread. He said, I cannot return with you, nor go in with you, nor will I eat your bread or drink your water with you in this place. For I was told by the word of the Lord, you shall not eat bread nor drink water there, nor shall you return by the way that you came. He answered him, I too am a prophet, actually, as you are. And an angel spoke to me by the word of the Lord, saying, bring him back with you to your house, so that he may eat bread and drink water. But he lied to him. So the man of God went back with him. You are not... I actually remember this story, and I just gotta say, how in the world, how bad would the lie have to be in order for you to not believe it? Because this was sneaky. That was sneaky. But I wonder, how bad would the lie have to be in order for him to not
believe it and be like, God didn't tell you that, or an angel didn't tell you that. I wonder how bad the lie had to be in order for him to come to that conclusion. Because right here, it just seems like he turned off his critical thinking skills. So this guy would definitely become a Muslim. Anyway, so the man of God went back with him and ate. I'm kidding, and ate bread in his house and drank water. Now it happened as they were sitting at the table that the word of the Lord came to the prophet who had brought him back. And he cried out to the man of God who came from Judah, Thus says the Lord, because you have disobeyed the word of the Lord and have not kept the commandment which the Lord your God commanded you, but have come back and have eaten bread and drunk water, in the place of which the Lord said to you, You shall not eat bread nor drink water. Your body shall not come to the tomb of your father's ancestors. After the prophet of the house had eaten bread and after he had drunk, he saddled the donkey for the prophet whom he had brought back. Now when he had gone, a lion met him by the road and killed him, and his body was thrown in the road, with the donkey standing beside it. The lion was also standing beside the body, and there were men passing by, and they saw the body thrown in the road, and the lion standing beside the body. So they came and told about it in the city of Bethel, where the old prophet lived. When the prophet who had brought him back from the road heard about it, he said, It is the man of the Lord who was disobedient to the word of the Lord. Therefore the Lord has given him to the lion, which has torn him and killed him, in accordance with the word of the Lord, which he spoke to him. And he said to his sons, Saddle the donkey for me. And they saddled it. And he went and found the body thrown into the road, and the donkey and the lion standing beside the body. The lion miraculously had not eaten the body or attacked the donkey. Then the prophet picked up the body from the man of God and laid it on the donkey and brought it back. And he came into the city Bethel of the old prophet to mourn and to bury him. And he said to the body, and he laid the body in his own grave. And they mourned over him, saying, Alas, my brother. Then after he had buried him, he said to his sons, When I am dead, bury me in the grave in which the man of God is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones. For the words which he cried out by the word of the Lord against the altar in Bethel and against the houses of the high places which are in the cities of Samaria shall certainly come to pass. After this event, Jeroboam still did not turn from his evil way, but again made priests from the high places from among all the people. He ordained anyone who was willing, so that there would be priests from the high places. And this thing, idol worship, because the sin of the house of Jeroboam, to blot it out and eliminate it from the face of the earth. Sounds like America today. Just making anyone a pastor. Anyone can be a pastor. You could be a pastor. You don't even know the Bible? Oh, you don't know the Bible? You can be a pastor and just go up there and talk about nonsense. You'll get paid. Yeah. Not that much, though. Ahijah prophesies against the king. At that time, Abijah, the son and crown prince here of Jeroboam, became sick. Jeroboam said to his wife, Please get up and disguise yourself so that the people will not know that you are Jeroboam's wife, and go to Shiloh. Ahijah the prophet is there, the one who told me that I would be king over this people. Take with you 10 loaves of bread, some cakes, and a bottle of honey, and go to him. He will tell you what will happen to the boy. Jeroboam's wife did so. She got up and went 20 miles to Shiloh and came to the house of Ahijah. Now Ahijah could not see because his eyes were dim from old age. And the Lord said to Ahijah, Behold, the wife of Jeroboam is coming to inquire of you about her son, because he is sick. You shall say such and such to her, for when she arrives, she will pretend to be another woman. So when Ahijah... the snitching is... I mean, he's allowed to do it, obviously, but that's just hilarious. He just exposed her entire plan. Like, yeah, it's her. She's gonna pretend to be someone else, but no, it's her. So when Ahijah heard the sound of her feet as she came in the doorway, he said, Come in, wife of Jeroboam. Why do you pretend to be another woman? For I have seen where I've sent to you by God with a harsh message. Go tell Jeroboam this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. Because I've exalted you from among the people and have made you leader over my people Israel, and have torn the kingdom away from the house of David and gave it to you. But you have not been like my servant David, who kept my commandments and followed me with all his heart, to do only what is right in my eyes, but have done more evil than all the kings who were before you. For you have gone and made for yourself other gods and molten images, to provoke me to anger, and have cast me behind your back. Therefore I am bringing evil on the house royal line of Jeroboam, and I will cut off destroy from Jeroboam every male, both bond and free, in Israel, and will utterly sweep away the house of Jeroboam as one sweeps away dung until it is all gone. The dogs will eat the carcass of anyone who belongs to Jeroboam, who dies in the city, and the birds of the sky will eat the carcass of anyone who dies in the field. For the Lord has spoken it. Now as for you, Jeroboam's wife, arise, go to your own house. When your feet enter the city, the child, Abijah, will die. Oh my gosh. All Israel shall mourn for him and bury him, for he alone of Jeroboam's family will come to be placed in the grave, because in him there was found something good and pleasing toward the Lord, the God of Israel, in the house of Jeroboam. Moreover, the Lord will raise up for himself a king over Israel, who will cut off the house or a line of Jeroboam to this day, and from now on. The Lord will strike Israel as a reed is shaken in the water, and he will uproot Israel from this good land which he gave to their fathers, and he will scatter them beyond the Euphrates River, because they have made their Asherim, provoking the Lord to anger. He will give up Israel because of the sins of Jeroboam which he has committed, and with which he has made Israel sin by leading them into idolatry. So Jeroboam's wife arose and left and came to Tirzah, the king's residence. As she was entering the threshold of the house the child Abijah died, and all Israel buried him and mourned for him, in accordance with the Lord of the in accordance of the word with the word of the Lord which he spoke through his servant Ahijah the prophet. Now as for the rest of the acts of Jeroboam, how he made war and how he reigned, behold, they are written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel. The time that Jeroboam reigned was 22 years, and he slept with his fathers in death, and Nadab his son reigned in his place. Rehoboam misleads Judah. Facepalm. Now Rehoboam the son of Solomon reigned in Judah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city the Lord had chosen from all the tribes of Israel in which to put his name present. His mother's name was Naamah, the Ammonitess, and the people of Judah did evil in the sight of the Lord. They provoked him to jealousy more than all that their fathers had done with their sins which they had committed. For they also built for themselves high places to worship idols, and sacred pillars and Asherim for the goddess Asherah. These were on every high hill and under every luxuriant tree. There were also male cult there were also male cult prostitutes in the land. What? They committed all the repulsive acts of the nations which the Lord dispossessed before the Israelites. Male cult prostitutes. Sounds like Muslims. Now in the 5th year of the Muslims in the UK, to be specific. Now in the 5th year of the king Rehoboam, Shishak, king of Egypt, Jeroboam's brother-in-law, came up against Jerusalem. He took away the treasures of the temple of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house. He took away everything. He even took all the shields of gold which Solomon had made. Dang. So King Rehoboam made bronze shields to replace them. That ain't gonna work. It ain't the same. and handed them over to the captains of the palace guard, who guarded the doorway of that king's house. And as often as the king went into battle of went into the house of the Lord, there's no battle right there. The guards would carry them and bring them back in the guard room. Now, as for the rest of the acts of Rehoboam and everything that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the King? All right, bro. All right. All right. Like you acting like I'm asking you, and you like, bro, just go to the book of Chronicles and you'll figure out what he did. And I'm like, bro, I ain't even asked that. There was also war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam continually, as expected. And Rehoboam slept with his fathers in death and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. His mother's name was Naamah the Ammonitess. Abijah, his son, became king in his place. Abijah reigns over Israel, or over Judah. In the 18th year of King Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, Abijah became king over Judah. He reigned 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother was Maachah, granddaughter of Absalom. He walked in all the sins of idol worship that his father Rehoboam committed before him, and his heart was not entirely devoted to the Lord his God like the heart of his forefather David. Nevertheless, for David's sake, the Lord his God gave him a lamp descending on a throne in Jerusalem, setting up his son after him and establishing Jerusalem, because David did what was right in the sight in the eyes of the Lord, and had not turned aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, except the matter of the betrayal of Uriah the Hittite. There was war between Rehoboam, Abijam's father, and Jeroboam all the days of Rehoboam's life. Now, as for the rest of the acts of Abijam and everything that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And there was war between Abijam and Jeroboam. They were just beefing. Asa succeeds Abijam. Abijam Abijam, whatever, slept with his fathers in death, and they buried him in the city of David. Asa, his son, became king in his place. So, in the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel, Asa began to reign as king over Judah. He reigned 41 years in Jerusalem. His great-grandmother was Maachah, the daughter of Abishalom. Asa did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, as did his forefather David. He expelled the male cult prostitutes, sodomites, or Muslims, from the land, and removed all the idols that his fathers Solomon, Rehoboam, and Abijam had made. He also deposed his great-grandmother Maachah from being queen mother, because she had made horrid, obscene, vulgar image for the goddess Asherah. Asa cut down her horrid image and burned it by the brook Kidron. But the high places of idol worship were not removed. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was entirely devoted to the Lord all his days. He bought the things which his father had dedicated, and the things which he had dedicated in the house of the Lord, silver, gold, and utensils and accessories. Now there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days. Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and fortified Ramah, north of Jerusalem, in order to prevent anyone from going out or coming into Asa, king of Judah. And Asa took all the silver and gold left in the treasuries of the house of the Lord and the treasuries of the palace of the king, and handed them over to his servants. And King Asa, that's messed up. And King Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad, the son of Tabrimon, the son of Hezion, king of Aram, Syria, who lived in Damascus, saying, "Let there be a treaty between me and you, as there was between my father and your father. Behold, I have sent you a gift of silver and gold. Go break your treaty with Baasha, king of Israel, so that he will withdraw from me. So Ben Hadad listened to King Asa and sent the commanders of his armies against the cities of Israel, and conquered Ijon, Dan, Abel, Beth Makkah, and all the Chinneroth, the region of the Sea of Galilee, along with all the land of Naphtali. When Baasha heard about it, he stopped fortifying Ramah and stayed in Tirzah. Then King Asa made a proclamation to all Judah. None was exempt, and they carried away the stones of Ramah and its timber with which Baasha had built the fortifications. And King Asa built with them border fortresses at Geba of Benjamin and Mizpah. Jehoshaphat succeeds Asa. Now, as for the rest of all the acts of Asa, all his might, everything that he did, and the cities which he built, are they not written in the book of Chronicles, the kings of Judah? But during the time of his old age, he had a foot disease, foot fungus. All right. Asa slept with his fathers in death, and was buried with his fathers in the city of his father David. Jehoshaphat, his son, reigned in his place. It probably wasn't foot fungus, by the way. I don't think foot fungus is gonna kill you. It was probably cancer. Nadab, then Baasha, rules over Israel. Now Nadab, the son of Jeroboam, began to reign over Israel in the second year of Asa, king of Judah. And he reigned over Israel for 2 years. He did evil in the sight of the Lord and walked in the way of his father Jeroboam, and in his sin of idolatry, which he made as Israel's sin. Baasha, the son of Ahijah of the house of Issachar, conspired against Nadab, and Baasha struck him down at Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines, while Nadab and all Israel were laying siege to Gibbethon. So Baasha killed Nadab in the third year of Asa, king of Judah, and reigned in his place. As soon as he was king, Baasha struck down all the household of Jeroboam. He did not leave for Jeroboam anyone alive, but he destroyed them in accordance with the word of the Lord, which he had spoke through his servant Ahijah, the Shilonite. Because of the sins committed by Jeroboam, and which he made Israel commit, and because he provoked the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger. Now, as for the rest of Nadab's acts and everything that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel? War with Judah. There was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days. In the third year of Asa, king of Judah, Baasha, the son of Ahijah, became king over all Israel in Tirzah, the capital city, and reigned 24 years. He did he did evil in the sight of the Lord, and walked in the way of Jeroboam and in his sin of idolatry, which he made Israel sin. Facepalm. Prophecy against Baasha. Now the word of the Lord came to Jehu, the son of Hanani, against Baasha, saying, Because I exalted you, Baasha, from the dust, and made you leader over my people Israel, and you walked in the way of Jeroboam, and made my people Israel sin, provoking me to anger with their sins of idol worship. Behold, I am going to sweep away Baasha and his household family, and I will make your household royal line, like that of Jeroboam the son of Nebat. The dogs will eat anyone belonging to Baasha, who dies in the city. And the birds of the sky will eat anyone belonging to him who dies in the field. Now, as for the rest of the acts of Baasha, what he did in his might, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel? All right, you are hyping up the book of Chronicles. I forgot who wrote it. I don't think it's said in the First Kings. The Israelite kings. Baasha slept with his fathers in death, and was buried in Tirzah. Elah, his son, became king in his place. Moreover, the word of the Lord came against Baasha and his household throughout the prophet Jehu, the son of Hanani, both in all the evil that Baasha did in the sight of the Lord, and provoking him to anger with the work of his hands, idolatry, and being like the house of Jeroboam. and because he willingly destroyed destroyed it, the family of Jeroboam. In the 26th year of Asa, king of Judah, Elah, the son of Baasha, became king over Israel in Tirzah, and reigned 2 years. His servant Zimri, commander of half his chariots, conspired against Elah. Now Elah was in Tirzah, getting drunk in the house of Arza, who was in charge of the king's household in Tirzah. Then Zimri came in and struck and killed Elah in the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, and became king in his place. When he became king, as soon as he sat on his throne, he killed the entire household of Baasha. He did not even leave a single male alive, either of his servants' relatives or his friends. Thus, Zimri destroyed the entire household of Baasha in accordance with the word of the Lord, which he spoke against Baasha through Jehu the prophet. For all the sins of Baasha and the sons of Elah, his son, which they committed, and made Israel commit, provoking the Lord God of Israel to anger with their idols. Now, as for the rest of the acts of Elah and everything that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel? In the 27th year of Asa, king of Judah, reigned over Israel for 7 days at Tirzah. Now the troops were camped against Gibbethon, a city which belonged to the Philistines, and the people who were camped heard it. Said, Zimri has conspired and has also struck down the king. So all Israel made Omri, the commander of the army, king over Israel that day in the camp. They just making anyone king. Then Omri went up from Gibbethon, and all Israel with him, and they besieged Tirzah. When Zimri saw that the city was taken, he went into the fortress of the king's palace, and while inside he set fire to the king's palace, and he died, because of the sins he had committed doing evil in the sight of the Lord, by walking in the way of Jeroboam. And because of his sin, he caused Israel to sin. Now, as for the rest of the acts of Zimri and his treasons, conspiracy, which he committed, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel? Then the people of Israel were divided in half. Half the people followed Tibni, the sons of Ginath, to make him king, and the other half followed Omri. But the people who followed Omri prevailed over the people who followed Tibni, the son of Ginath. So Tibni died, and Omri became king. In the 31st year of Asa, king of Judah, Omri became king over Israel and reigned for 12 years. He reigned 6 years at Tirzah. Omri brought the hill Samaria from Shemer for 2 talents of silver, and he built a city on the hill and fortified it, and named the city which he built Samaria after the owner of the hill Shemer. But Omri did evil in the sight of the Lord, and acted more wickedly than all who came before him. Facepalm. He walked in all the ways of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and in his sin, which he made Israel commit, provoking the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger with their idols. Now, as for the rest of the acts of Omri, which he did, and his might, which he showed, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Omri slept with his fathers in death, and was buried in Samaria. Ahab, his son, became king in his place. Ahab, the son of Omri, became king over Israel in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah. And Ahab, the son of Omri, reigned over Israel in Samaria for 22 years. And Ahab, the son of Omri, did evil in the sight of the Lord more than all the kings who were before him. What is happening? They were making. Oh my gosh! It came about as if it had been a trivial thing for Ahab to walk in the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, that he married Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Sidonians, and went after and served Baal and worshiped him. Do you know what Baal looks like? I bet you do. You were there. You were there for it. You have no excuse. So he erected an altar for Baal in the house of Baal, which he built in Samaria. Ahab also made the Asherah. Ahab did more to provoke the Lord, the God of Israel, than all the kings of Israel who were before him. In his days, Hiel, the Bethelites, rebuilt Jericho. He laid its foundations with the loss of Abiram, his firstborn, and set up its gates with the loss of his youngest son Segub, in accordance with the word of the Lord, which he spoke through Joshua the son of Nun. And I, I don't know. These people are. As for right now, that's it. God bless.